Hi everyone, my name is Scott. Welcome back to my series, Decades of Action Challenge, in which I look at each of the films picked by a writer named Tom Breihan for the website avclub.com on the best or most important and influential action movies of each year since 1968 moving forward. It's called A History of Violence. And I'm going to be getting to movies that I actually have seen and don't like at some point. In a few months from now when I get into the 80s and 90s. But most of the movies that I've been seeing the past few weeks are from the 70s, and a lot of them I hadn't seen before, like Death Wish. I'd never seen it before. Assault on Precinct 13, however, is a movie that I had seen, and I believe it was 1998. I remember seeing that while living in a specific place that I only lived in like a year, and that was 98. So I think that yeah, I've seen it at least one time. The other day I was actually thinking to myself, this is a John Carpenter movie, and I can't think of too many John Carpenter movies that I haven't seen at least once. I didn't really like them all, but I know that I've seen seen most of them. I think I checked his IMDb page, and it turns out of the movies he's directed, there's only two that I haven't seen: The Fog, not the remake, of course, with Tom Welling, but the original Fog, and a movie called Prince of Darkness, which is a movie that I would often get confused with both The Serpent and the Rainbow with Bill Pullman, and another John Carpenter movie called In the Mouth of Madness, which I definitely did see in the theater. I also saw Memoirs of an Invisible Man in the theater, but I didn't see a lot of them, the other movies that he's done. Halloween, The Thing, I saw Dark Star, saw, Vampires and Ghosts of Mars, yeah, aside from those two, I've seen all of them, so maybe I should get around to checking them out one day so I can be a John Carpenter completist, even though I wasn't really trying to do that. So Assault on Precinct 13, like I said, I've seen it just the one time before, and it was almost 20 years ago, so I really needed a refresher on this one pretty badly. Sometimes I think that I'm not smart enough to talk intelligently about movies from decades past, or at least I don't have enough viewing experience with the history of films. I don't really get necessarily a lot of the subtext, the reference points, and what have you, and as far as what a YouTuber I really admire named Jim Grisreel calls film theory, I don't really understand what that is. I've read about it, I've heard it explained to me, but I still have trouble grasping the concept of what film theory is. But one thing I do know is that pretty much any movie that you see is inspired by other movies in the past. They might be adapted from a book or a play or an old TV series or even a pop song, what have you. But as far as the inspiration for the film itself often comes from previous movies. And in the 70s and 80s, that was definitely true of Westerns. They were often inspired by Westerns, especially cop movies. Movies about, cops fighting bad guys, whatever. And Assault on Precinct 13 is what they call a siege movie, which the sort of template for that, the gold standard for siege movies, is the John Wayne, Dean Martin Western Rio Bravo, which I actually have seen. Long time ago, just the once, but yeah, I did see that one. Assault on Precinct 13 is about a police station in Los Angeles that's about to be closed down. They've sort of consolidated the workforce to other nearby stations in this crappy, sort of gang-infested part of town. The station's due to be closed that very night, and the main character, who is a police officer, is just basically there to supervise the place. His name is Ethan Bishop, and he's played by an actor named Austin Stoker. Don't really know a lot about him. In fact, I don't recognize any of the actors in this movie. What the Breihan's article says is one of the actresses actually also appeared in Halloween, which was the next movie Carpenter made after Precinct 13, but I didn't really recognize her either. So anyway, this cop basically is there to just oversee the station. It's due to have its power and phones shut off. In the morning, he's just there basically to just watch over the place. There's nothing going on, but of course then things start happening. First we have a bus transporting some prisoners that needs to stop there because one of the prisoners has become very, very sick. And they just can't, it's going to be hours before they get to their destination, so they need to stop at the prison and unload him and also the other two prisoners they have they're watching over in the cells that are there, you know, at the station, despite the fact there's hardly any staff there. The other big thing that happens is that you've got a father with his little girl driving around looking for, I think, the nanny or the babysitter. They're picking her up from where she lives in this crummy neighborhood and going to drive her back to their place so they can, you know, so that the parents, I think, can go out for the night. But what happens along the way is the little girl gets killed by a gang. Bunch of guys in a car, basically, armed with, you know, a lot of weaponry. They basically terrorize this guy driving an ice cream truck, and of course the little girl happens to be there wanting to get an ice cream cone. Boom, she gets a bullet to the chest. Pretty surprising. Pretty severe moment right there. The father, after the gang takes off, he sees the car leave. He sees his little girl lying there on the ground, dead, bloody, and he just, he wants blood. He wants these guys to pay right away. The guy driving the ice cream truck actually has a gun in his dashboard, and as he's laying there, also bleeding in the street, he points out the gun to the dad, presumably so that the dad can protect himself. But the dad isn't interested in protecting himself. He's going to go after these guys. And once the dad kills one of the gang members, he's then being chased by the other gang members, and he flees to this police station, which is supposed to be closed down and has hardly any staff in it. And the gang corrals all their other members, dozens of other guys, to surround the station and, you know, shoot up the place and get in and kill everyone that's inside. That's basically the plot of the movie. So you've got this cop, this guy who's just, you know, there for the night, basically, to oversee the station, and a couple other staff members, and a couple prisoners as well. And when he realizes that they're going to be overwhelmed, he gives a couple of rifles to the prisoners so that they can help protect the station. And the big set piece of the movie comes when they've got a bunch of guys on the outside using rifles with silencers to just, like, you know, smash through all the windows and shoot whoever that they can from a distance. You know, they break a whole bunch of windows, they just tear up the place, but they managed to only hit a few people. And then when they tried to actually personally converge on the station and get in there to take care of whoever's left, then they're met with resistance. You've got one of the prisoners is played by a guy named Darwin Josten. Yeah, that's right. He is a death row inmate. His character's name is Napoleon Wilson. And the detective who's supervising the station gives him a shotgun, which he is very, very good at. And so there's basically 4 characters, 2 prisoners and 2 cops, who are there basically each covering an entrance point in the station and firing at whoever's coming in the window trying to get in. A whole extended sequence of them just blasting out the windows, blasting whoever's coming in. Good set piece. So yeah, this is pretty threadbare as far as action movies goes. It's pretty low budget. One thing that Breihan writes about is how movies with low budgets will confine a lot of their action to just one location to save time and money. And you know, it's the Siege movie is built for that. Not a movie that I love or anything like that. It's decent, you know, and John Carpenter wrote the music for this movie, as he did with a lot of the other movies that he directed. It's really good. There's a great opening credit theme that's used a few times throughout the movie, really exciting. Yeah, it's a decent movie. Again, not one of my favorites, and John Carpenter's never necessarily been one of my favorite directors, one that I just say, oh, I love John Carpenter, he's the best. The Thing and Halloween are magnificent movies, just absolutely magnificent. Aside from that, I'm not crazy about him. I love Dark Star. Dark Star is a really fun movie. His very first low-budget sci-fi movie, which wears its low budget, its extremely low budget, like a badge of honor. Yeah, this one's decent. You know, it's got some good action in it. Nothing that really is like, particularly inspiring for me. But I, recognize its place in action movie history. It's an important film as far as the history of action movies goes, which of course is what this Breihan series is all about. Sorry I can't speak more intelligently on this particular movie, but I'm just doing my best with all these, just taking them as they are. This was, of course, the 1976 entry in Breihan's series, and the next one is going to be 1977, and that is the William Devane film Rolling Thunder, which is also another movie that I saw pretty much around the same time as I saw this one for the first time. in 1998, and I just saw it the one time again. At least I think it was then. I don't remember sometimes when I've seen something. I know I've seen it at least once, though. I'm pretty sure, yeah. We'll get to that next week. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, there's a playlist, basically, with all the videos that I've done so far in this series. And once I do Rolling Thunder, that'll be 10 videos so far. That's like one decade, the first decade in this series. And so I'll do sort of a summary video on those movies and what I like best and least and what have you. So there's that playlist link below if you want to see any of those other videos that I've done so far. Facebook page, my Facebook page also linked below. You can check that out. And please do take a look at both Razorwire Reviews and Forkerball, who are doing a series that was inspired by this one called the Epic Film Challenge, in which they're looking at the movies listed in a book called 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Hope you like this, and I'll see you again real soon. Thanks for watching.